You don't understand how good Chase Burns is just yet, but you're about to.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is always part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And on today's show, there have been a few trends in the lineup recently that should be changing our perspective of some players who struggled early on. We'll discuss why later on in the show. In a few minutes, we'll tell you why there was a scare for Eugenio Suarez last night, and there may be a new target that have showed up on the radar. Well, but we're going to begin.
We're not doing that.
We're going to begin.
We're not doing that
last night. But yeah, I'm gonna trademark radar anyway. But first,
absolutely not.
Look, I think it's interesting because we as baseball fans are very traditionalistic, right? In some way or shape or form, whether it's how the game is played, whether it's how the game is seen, how the game is consumed, or how we evaluate it. And traditionalists will tell you that Chase Burns isn't so good because he has a 6.26 ERA. And if that is what you're using to tell whether or not Chase Burns is good, that would be a big mistake.
It would be a really big mistake. I mean, we saw the stat yesterday, right? The first Reds pitcher since 1900 to strike out 10.
Reds pitcher, but I didn't see who the other second guy was.
Right.
Yeah.
10 strikeout 10 in the first three starts. But he's really good. And let's just put it in perspective for a minute. I understand that the Reds lost the game. They lost the game 5-2. Chase Burns was facing probably the best lineup in baseball right now.
Period.
I told you guys. Yeah. I told you guys on yesterday's show, running up and down their lineup, they have not one, but two hitters in their lineup with an OPS plus greater than 170. They have two hitters in that lineup that are better than 70% above league average. For him to get 10 Ks against that lineup says a whole lot about what his stuff looks like to the opposing hitter. We're only seeing, he's only scratching the surface right now of what he's going to be as a pitcher. And while I understand the results aren't quite there yet, man, can you see the talent? Can you see the potential? If you can take a step back and not get hyper focused on win-loss record of 0-3, I get it. He hasn't won a game yet. An ERA 6+, I get it. That's not optimal. But every other statistic he's got cooking right now says he is going to be really, really good in this league.
Yeah, I mean, he has everything going for him but luck. Like, you know, we talked a lot about Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo over the last few years. What do you need to do? You need to add a third pitch. You need to be more consistent with this or that or whatever. Honestly, the next step for Chase Burns is just to get better luck when he's doing stuff. Like, let's look at some of these numbers, Steve, because we talk about strikeouts a lot. And we talk about the two different stats when it comes to strikeouts per nine or the strikeout rate. Both of those are very elite. Right now, he has a 14.8 strikeouts per nine, and he has a strikeout rate of 35%. Steve, league average is 22%. He is 13% better than league average at striking guys out. And then when you couple that with the fact that his batting average on balls in play currently against him is 400, Ted Williams is facing him every time he pitches. So if he doesn't strike him out, he's giving up a hit. And right now, league average is at 291. So he is over 100 points on less lucky than the league average pitcher. I think it is so important to note those two things right off the bat.
two things looking at his stats. I love the 14.8 strikeouts per nine. You look at his walks per nine at 4, and that tells you a little bit of a story. You got to rein that in a little bit. Is his FIP really half of his ERA? Is his FIP really 3.02?
His FIP is the best on the team. So FIP, fielding independent pitching, the things that he can control, strikeouts, walks, home runs, things like that, all add up to his FIP. It is better than Hunter Green. It is better than Andrew Abbott. It is better than Nick Lodolo. It's better than everyone on the team.
That paints the picture. It really, I wasn't sure I was going to track this luck argument, but yeah, his FIP is half his ERA. That tells us a whole lot. Look, he's 6 starts into a big league career. Right. And I think as a fan with a rookie that I think we can probably all admit got a little bit of an earlier call up than anybody really would have liked. We
said it at the beginning of the year. We didn't expect it to happen.
Right. This is mostly necessity. So for a guy that was a necessity call up a little bit earlier than anybody would have liked, 6 starts into a big league career, to be able to do the things that he's done thus far, 14.8 strikeouts per 9, looking at his overall numbers, what he's able to do against these hitters, I think he is actually progressing really, really well. It's the same how I kind of felt with Brandon Williamson, right? You have to take a pitcher like that you really recognize might not be quite ready to be the guy, but has the potential to be a long-term major league starter. You have to show a little bit of patience, and we're so starved for a winner around here that our patience has worn thin, and I get it.
Yeah.
That doesn't make Chase Burns a bad pitcher. That doesn't make Chase Burns a send them down guy. Every single start he makes right now, he's learning something. Every single start that he makes right now, he's getting better. He's spending this time at the big league level, working with the big league coaches, working with Derek Johnson versus being down in Louisville. I don't think Chase Burns has anything left to learn in Louisville, I guess is what I'm saying, Jeff. All that he needs to learn is to be conducted at the big league level. So while he's going to turn a corner here pretty quick, and we're all going to be like, man, he is lights out. And I have zero worries about his performance thus far. And the luck factor now, you've convinced me, is really a thing with this kid. So that even buys him more patience from me. The wins are going to come. This team's going to play well behind him. He's going to get that walks under control because he's still learning. He's going to get that under control. If he can maintain a 10 plus strikeouts per 9 for the rest of this season while trimming down that walks per 9, the ERA is going to adjust. The wins are going to adjust. He's going to be okay.
And let's talk about the walks for just a second as well, because he also got unlucky with those last night. Because if you look at his graphic for the strike zone and how he was called, there are some very obvious pitches inside the strike zone that home plate umpire Andy Fletcher called a ball that Chase Burns threw. And those change at bats. Like, I get it. Some people might say, all right, you get a bad call, well, then throw a strike the next time. Shohei Ohtani's at the plate. We really going to catch all the plate with that next pitch? Like, that'd be a horrible idea. So this changes at bats when he makes a pitch. And if you can't see this graph, he hit the top corner, whether it's inside or outside, depending on who was at the plate. He hit the top corner of the zone 3 times, and really 4 times, because there's one where just a bit of the ball caught the zone and was called a ball. But 4 times, and he did not get the call. Those are perfect pitches. Those are pitches you don't do anything with, and he did not get that call. And then you add one more fact about how bad luck this kid's had right now, and he's 22 years old again. He is a kid. He has a base runner stranding percentage of 54%. League average is 72%. The team average is 74%. 20% more runners come around to score against Chase Burns than the rest of the team. That's just a all-out luck factor, because that is a water finds its level eventually. And the reason that stat exists is to explain the current luck situation that he's having right now. And I will close out my luck argument with this. The things that he can control, the pitches, the command, the stuff, the movement, the velocity. Nobody was better than he was yesterday. He beat out Dylan Cease. He beat out Jacob Mizorowski, and I know everybody loves to fawn over that guy. He beat out Jacob deGrom, the self-proclaimed best pitcher ever. Chase Burns had the best stuff yesterday, according to Stuff Plus, which is a statistic that factors in velocity, movement, and location. It factors in where the ball lands. Nobody was better than Chase Burns was yesterday.
I want to hit real quick, Jeff, on that strike zone that you were talking about. It was bad for two reasons, and it was bad for Chase Burns for two reasons, not just one. Obviously, it was just a bad strike zone, and that happens. The umpires are human. That happens. He had a bad umpire behind the plate last night, but he was inconsistently bad. Like, it's one thing if your umpire has a bad strike zone. It's another thing if the umpire has a bad strike zone that floats. And he had a bad strike zone that floats. There was just nothing Chase Burns was going to be able to do with that. I'm not worried at all, Jeff. I'm excited to watch him continue to develop, to grow, to pitch, and go on this big league journey. But listen, we've been talking a whole lot about, and I'm not using your word, we've been talking about a whole lot of trade possibilities. We've been on Geno watch around here. And Geno had a big scare last night. And could that result in the Reds seeking a new target? We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Today's episode of Locked On Reds is brought to you by the best way to rep your team, and that's with Game Day Hue. Game Day Hue makes it easy to rep the Reds in all situations because they make clean, no-logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. So for the Reds, for the Bengals, for Ohio State, for Cincinnati, all the different teams in the area, Game Day Hue has the colors for you. They make this amazing hat that I've been wearing here for a little while here on the show. Very comfortable. It's very breathable, keeps me very cool, but it also looks very stylish too, and it works in all situations, whether I'm going to a family gathering or even down to the golf course, like with the golf glove. Even smells like a hole-in-one. You got to check out Game Day Hue today. Go to GameDayHue.com and use the promo code MLB15 to get 15% off. Plus, that code stacks with other deals, so now is the time to bundle up. That's over at GameDayHue.com. And again, the promo code MLB15. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words.
It smells like a hole-in-one.
Sometimes I just say things to get you to react.
Make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great Reds content coming your way. Jeff and I here on the mothership Monday through Friday on Locked On Reds. Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game on the Reds postcast. Make sure you're subscribed so you get it all. Plus,
not to hijack you, Tim Daniel also said Chase Burns could be the opening day starter next year. We're going to have to rehash that later on. I don't know about that one, but he might be even more bullish on it.
There's quite a line. There's quite a line for that particular assignment. Anyway, make sure you're subscribed. Click the notification bell. You don't miss any of the great content. And if there is a trade, we'll drop something special in the feed. Make sure you're subscribed. All right, Jeff, we have been on Geno watch around here. And if you'd missed it, and by now everybody's probably seen it, Geno took one to the hand yesterday. So everybody is holding their collective breath, waiting to find out today, is Geno okay? We don't know. But there have been some rumblings of another trade target for the Reds this particular trade deadline.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is not necessarily a rumor that's been posted by Trent or Mark Sheldon or any of the beat writers for the Reds. Or I've seen grumblings about that the Reds have been in contact with the Braves, and I've seen some folks wondering if Marcell Ozuna is the target. So I kind of wanted to discuss Marcell Ozuna's candidacy to be added by the Cincinnati Reds. And this all stems from just a little bit of worry. The good news was Eugenio Suarez had x-rays, and it was on his index finger on his right hand, because if you've seen the video, it sounds like it's a foul ball, but it hit him in the hand. It's that hard of a hit, but x-rays were negative, no broken bones, no anything like that. Probably will have some swelling that he has to go through, but I wonder if that makes the Reds change their minds a little bit. And if it does, Marcell Ozuna could be an interesting candidate. Now, his off the field stuff aside, not a great role model off the field, but when you're looking for a middle of the order hitter that can get on base quite a bit and hit with power and hit a long way, Marcell Ozuna is your guy.
Except it's his age 34 season, and I know Gino's old as well, in baseball years old. Ozuna's really having a down year. Last year, 2024, lights out. He played in all 162 games. He had a slash line of 302, 378, 546 with 39 home runs. Hit 40 home runs the year before. This year, Jeff, his slash line right now is 233, 361, 393. He's only managed 14 home runs, and that's in 96 games. He's good for just 1.1 in WAR compared to his season last year of 4.3. I feel like this is a guy that is on the decline curve. I feel like this is a guy right now that has turned a corner and is not quite who he used to be. And I get it. There's still probably a little bit of life in that bat, but I don't think he fulfills the purpose of the Reds going out and making a move. Gino does. You put Ozuna in the lineup right now, I'm not sure he buys Ellie the protection we're looking to get in a hitter behind Ellie. Gino does that. Gino is a legitimate threat each and every time he comes up to homer right now. He's 36 plus home runs this season. Ozuna doesn't strike that fear. And it's equal parts for me making a trade and adding somebody to the lineup that's a bopper and help the team and all the things. But it's also about protecting Ellie, because you protect Ellie, you make the team even better on top of whoever it was you just added. And I don't think Ozuna does that, Jeff. And I get why people are talking about him. He's had some tremendous years in his career. I just don't think he fills the bill right now.
It's intriguing to note that there is still some linkage between the Reds and Ozuna because they actually offered him a contract back in 2020. It was reported by John Heyman that the Reds offered him 3 years and $50 million, and he turned them down to go to the Braves for 1 year and 18. Now, obviously, he bet on himself and he won that bet, and he ended up making a lot more money than what the Reds would have given him. But honestly, if you look at the contract that he was offered, the Reds offered the Jeimer Candelario deal to Marcell Ozuna, and it just for a little bit more money. Kind of would have loved to have seen that, but I think I'm with you. I'm not necessarily as bullish one way or the other about him. I'm about 6-1, half dozen the other here, because I think that Ozuna really could get going with a change of scenery. But he has been very outspoken in how much he loves being an Atlanta Brave. And I think there's part of him that would like to retire. Now, he doesn't have a no trade clause or anything like that. He doesn't have the ability to block a trade from the Braves. But there might be that scenario where like they like him enough that they're probably not going to trade him. So, and like you mentioned, he would be on the lower side of his value. This would not cost what it would cost to get a Eugenio Suarez, but for good reason. For the fact that he's on a down year with his hitting statistics, and he is legitimately bat only. You don't play him in the field. He cannot play in the outfield anymore. The last couple of times he played in the outfield, I think a few years ago, he was horrible. And so he is a DH if he's anything at all. So you're acquiring a very limited player here that his hitting statistics would have to be a lot better, I think, for us to be more excited about this. This would be one of those moves that if the Reds made that, they would still need to make a bigger move. Eugenio Suarez is not a move that you make and you say, okay, what's next? What's bigger? Then you just say, okay, you make a couple of smaller moves for like middle relief guys and we're good. You trade for Marcell Ozuna, you better go get Juan Duran from the Twins or something like that to make the bullpen just that much better, because you really didn't, like you said, you didn't accomplish improving the lineup like you wanted to whenever you set out to make a deal.
Yeah, and you look at Ozuna, you look at Suarez, you look at what the history of these players are. Gino's just a better fit for the team.
Yes.
Outside of the statistics, the chemistry of the team, the energy of this team, Ozuna's just a different type of player. And I don't know that he necessarily fits with the bunch that the Reds have collected here in Cincinnati. So I don't like this move, Jeff. I would much rather see them go after Duran, somebody else, if they're not going to get Gino, because those moves are still going to be the hitter plus a bullpen upgrade plus a something. If Nick Kral's really on his game, it's got to be more than just the one move. So I saw this yesterday too. I'm glad that you wanted to talk about it today, because I'd like to just nip it. I don't think it's a good idea at all.
Yeah, I think you turn your tradar in a different direction there, and maybe turn off your targeting computer when it comes to Marcell Ozuna. So I think, if it's not Suarez is the biggest swing that the Reds could take, because quite frankly, everyone in the country is saying Suarez is the biggest swing that anybody could take, unless the Red Sox actually trade Jarren Duran, which I don't see happening. I know there's a lot of rumors to that, but I don't see that happening. Suarez is going to be the best player moved at the deadline. And if the Reds can be that team that acquires him, then they have the best deadline. And then they go add a middle relief guy. Maybe they are able to swing a trade for Griffin Jacks from the Minnesota Twins, who would be an elite setup man. I don't know that he moves Pagan out of the closer spot, but he would really bump down Santillan, maybe not force him to pitch every stinking day of the week. And then maybe Scott Barlow could take a few days off here and there and not have to go on paternity leave to do it. And, things like that. I think that ultimately the Reds have a few moves that they're going to make. It's just they are beholden to the sellers accepting the offers that they have on the table right now. That's not anything Nick Krall can control. And I've seen some people that are like, same old Reds, they ain't going to do anything. Tell me who's making trades. I mean, the Yankees have made trades, but did you want Ryan McMahon? Did you want Ahmed Rosario? Not really. So congrats, Yankees. Way to go.
Yeah, didn't want either one of those guys. All right, listen, Jeff. It's going to be interesting how the next little bit of hours play out. You and I are going to be on this. We're going to be watching for whatever news might break, and we'll definitely be back in the feed if a trade does go down. We've been talking about some of the hitters on this team, Jeff, and how they've been performing. And guys you think are having a bad streak right now may not necessarily be performing bad. We're going to look at some interesting trends with the hitters coming up next.
If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We're on all of them out there. Go check us out today. And when you're done with today's Locked On Reds episode, go check out Locked On MLB Game Night over on the Locked On MLB feed. They watch every game every night so that you don't have to. All right, Steve. Yeah, like kind of what you were talking about there, the Reds, there's been a couple of guys that we have been really hard on here to start the season because they had tough starts. They didn't quite get out to the year that they're expecting. And there's still a lot of people that when they see Matt McLain come to the plate and they see the 221 batting average and they're just like, my gosh, he's got to figure it out. Let me tell you what, though, these last 2 weeks have actually been pretty good for Matt McLain, because when you expand it out to the last 14 days, Matt McLain is slashing 316 with a 381 on base and a 421 slugging. That's good for an 802 OPS. That's a pretty nice OPS, especially where he was early on in the season. And I think a lot of that is just stemming from the fact that he's finally getting more comfortable with the healed labrum, with the healed shoulder, and making sure that everything is still right with him. It took him a while to get to that spot, and we are seeing the Matt McLain that we expected to see whenever the season began.
Yeah, he's a hard one right now. And for this season, because you can't really look at his counting stats. You can't look at his season performance and get a clear picture of what he's doing right now. His first month and a half to 2 months was terrible. It was really, really bad. Coming back from that injury, coming back from being out of baseball for over a year, he took some time, and that's okay. We know what that was. What that was is not who he is. And the player that you're seeing right now is much more in line with who he is, who we think he is. And remember, there's a bit of on top of the injury, there was the inevitable sophomore-ish slump, right? Like there was going to be a bit of a regression. We talked all last offseason that there was really no way he was going to come to this team this year and be able to perform at the level that he performed his rookie season. He played over his head. I mean, he was good and he is good, but he still played over his head during that rookie campaign. So all of this was kind of to be expected about where he was going to be. But you look at his numbers now, and you definitely see him going to the place that we all thought he was going to, being the player we all thought he was going to be. And then defensively, he's just lights out at second base. He's gonna win a lot of Gold Gloves over there. He plays a mean second base. So I'm comfortable still. I've been kind of the Matt McLain defender all season long. Even when you wanted to send him down, we argued against that nonsense. Matt McLain has turned a corner. Matt McLain is just fine.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to start with him is that I was very unimpressed with the at-bat that he had in the ninth inning. It felt like the Reds were really putting something together for a late rally. And had it not been for a really bad at-bat by Noelvi Marte as well, there would have only been one out, I think, because the two guys that they had pitching in the ninth inning for the Dodgers, and Blake Trinan and then Jack Dreyer, even Jack Dreyer, I know he only threw 3 pitches, but his first 2 pitches were so far outside the zone that Matt McLain should have left his bat on his shoulder for that third pitch. But instead, he got what he thought was a fastball. He swung at it, hit it off the end of the bat, game over. And so part of that makes me wonder a little bit if he was pressing, trying to say, like, here is my exclamation point. I'm back. I'm bringing this team back. We're going to have this dramatic comeback win. And then he hits a little number to the shortstop, and that's just how baseball goes. But I think he has largely shown that he is coming around.
Right. And you know, he wanted to win. I don't doubt at all he was probably pressing a little bit in that situation. I also know for a fact, Jeff, that Matt McLain was very unimpressed with your last at-bat as well. I mean, I'm just saying. Let's talk a little Tyler.
It's been a while.
Let's talk a little Tyler Stephenson, because here's another guy that would be very easy to just scratch the surface of what he's doing and see that he's not performing well. But really, he's hitting better than meets the eye test, I guess.
I'm trying to think of how old Matt McLain probably was when I had my last at bat. Anyway, yes, Tyler Stephenson. He was not very old. Tyler Stephenson has had a nice 2 weeks here recently. And again, we're kind of just looking at these last 2 weeks, short sample sizes, because honestly, I was sitting in the stands yesterday. He had a bad game against the Dodgers, and I'm thinking, man, kind of feels like he's had some bad games recently. It was just recency bias that was clouding my judgment, because nobody has more home runs than Tyler Stephenson does in the last 2 weeks, and he's slugging .517 on the whole. He's got a pair of homers and he's got a double. He's really hitting for the extra bases as well. I love what we're seeing from him. He has slowly but surely climbed up that ladder. He's, at least according to Baseball Reference, at 0.9 wins above replacement, after starting the year later than everybody else and still starting out kind of slow even after that point. We're seeing Tyler Stephenson be a lot more consistent and the guy that we expect here recently.
And Tyler's a guy that I'm guilty of doing that thing that I get so critical of everybody doing for all the other players, which is putting the expectations so high that the player's never going to really meet him. Yes, I'm the guy that said Tyler Stephenson had 40 homer power. Yeah, I got excited. But Tyler Stephenson is still a really, really good player. You look at what he does day in and day out. OPS plus right now of 93 is not indicative of who he really is. He's going to get that back up above league average before the season is over. I have no doubt about that. You know, there were questions when Jose Trevino was really just ripping it. You know, is he stealing Tyler's job? You know, the Reds, I think, did a really good job of managing how to get both in the lineup when they needed both in the lineup. And, you know, Tyler, another guy that, you know, had an injury interruption this season. I think that we're just beginning to see all of these guys that had injury problems early come into their own. They're actually a month or so behind where they would normally be in a healthy season. So I think everybody's putting it together. And the best part of that, Jeff, is they're all kind of putting it together at the same time at the most important time of the year. We're going into the dog days. We're getting into the stretch run. The Reds have to win baseball games. They have to keep winning series. And this is how you do it. Guys, get hot.
And there's one more trend that I want to circle before we end today's podcast, and that's TJ Friedl, because I know there's been a lot of people concerned, including myself, with how Friedl has been hitting here recently. Maybe calm down on that a little bit, because these last 2 weeks, while he has a 200 batting average, he's got a 404 on base. He has more walks than strikeouts. He's working some long at bats, and he's getting very unlucky with the balls that he's putting in play. He has a BABIP of 200 right now. And we talked about how BABIP affects pitchers. Pitchers want it to be low. Hitters want it to be high. And right now, Ellie has twice as much. He has a 417 BABIP compared to TJ Friedl's 200 BABIP. TJ's going to turn it around here soon. He's just been getting unlucky, He's been still having some really good at bats, though. We saw that yesterday. Even he was a guy that was really trying to spur this team on. While there were long stretches in that first game against the Dodgers that it just felt like the Reds lineup went to sleep, TJ did everything that he could to kind of spur the game on. He just couldn't quite seal the deal by himself. So hopefully we see him continue this stretch of good on base, and then he adds some hits to it as well.
Yeah, on the season, 371 on base percentage. I mean, I'll take that over the course of the year. 10% better than league average, OPS plus of 110. He's been in 103 games, and that's really what we needed from TJ Friedl more than anything else this year. That's the stat. Availability is the stat for TJ Friedl. 103 games he's appeared in. I think only Ellie has played in more games than TJ Friedl this season. Correct. So you look at those numbers, you look at this Reds outfield, that's a train wreck. And we all knew that going into the season. They could not have afforded for TJ Friedl to have been in that list of players that was just unavailable at the beginning of the year. And TJ has been healthy. He's performed well. 2.5 in WAR this season, Jeff. He's going to get to 3 for sure before the season is over. TJ Friedl's another one I think that, just goes out and does his thing. I love his ability to be disruptive at the top of the lineup. We've seen him on more than one occasion when he's having a bad game or had a couple bad at bats, slipping in that bunt that really just kind of gets things going. You need a guy at the top of the lineup that can shake things up. He does that. He continues to do that. He's another one I'm not really worried about at all.
Who was it? Oh man, I want to give the proper credit, but somebody was talking about the Gordie Howe hat trick in hockey where it was a goal and assist and a fight. And then somebody was trying to come up with the Friedl hat trick, which was a homer, a bunt single, and then they were trying to come up with a third thing. And maybe it's a stolen base or diving catch. Yeah,
diving catch.
I think and I wish I remember who said it. I'm sorry if I'm missing the credit. Just hit me up in the comment section there. But they even said they're like robbing a home run. I'm like, well, let's give him a diving catch. Let's do a diving catch because robbing a home run is a lot of different things that have to come together. But yeah, no, he's been phenomenal to watch this year. And I think that he will finish the year strong, just like we hoped he would. But that'll do it for us here today on the Locked On Reds podcast. Appreciate you all for checking us out. If you're an everydayer, thank you for being an everydayer. And if you're not, and you got to this spot, hit the subscribe button. I mean, obviously you should. We're going to be with you all throughout the rest of the trade deadline. When the moves happen, we'll be with you talking about the moves and how they impact the roster. And as the stretch run continues, you can bet that we will be Locked On Reds every single day. Tradar.
No.
It works. It works so well.
Absolutely
Tradar.
not. Go back to your room.
Tradar.
Back to your room.
Tradar.